first of all, I just want to say I absolutely reject this premise that if you bash Putin, you bash Russia. Because Putin is the #1 Russia basher. It's his regime which has misruled Russia for the last 15 years. It's his regime which has stolen tens of billions of dollars from the Russian people and laundered it here. It's an absolute fiction to say, as they used to say in Soviet eras, the General Secretary loves the nation and the nation loves the General Secretary. This is a regime which practices Olympic-style corruption, I mean Olympic-style corruption, which silences and bullies and jails and sometimes murders anyone who gets in the way of the looting machine. And ladies and gentlemen, we tried engagement. We tried engagement in the 1990s when we poured billions of dollars into the Yeltsin regime to try and prop it up, which was a terrible, terrible mistake. And even after that, tens more billions of dollars coming the other way, being laundered in the great financial centers of the West. There are business-class seats, ladies and gentlemen, on the Kremlin gravy train, and they're filled by our bankers who do these deals, by our lawyers who check them to make sure they look legal, by our accountants who cook the books, by the consultants who think up ever more ingenious schemes, by the PR people who try and make it look good. Talk about taking 30 silver rubles. That was engagement. I wish you'd had less of it. And NATO engaged. We set up the NATO-Russia Council, where we allowed a nest of spies in the heart of NATO, all with NATO badges. They could walk in and out of meetings just to try and soothe the Russians from their sense of supposed insecurity. And we paid a huge price for that. We paid a price in our self-respect. We paid a price for our standing in Russia. And we paid a price in the terms of our allies' security. Because they warned us, the Estonians, the Latvians, the Lithuanians, the Poles, the Czechs, the Slovaks, they warned us about this. They are the people who understand Russia really well. They lived inside the Soviet Empire and under Soviet occupation. And they warned us, watch out for energy. Don't let Europe become dependent on Russian energy. They warned us that geopolitics is back. They warned us that the Kremlin doesn't like countries that have real elections, like the one we just had in Ukraine, where you didn't know at the beginning who was going to win. Now, I agree Ukraine's in a terrible mess. I would suggest that Russia's helped make it that way. I agree the Ukrainian elite has been abominable. But the point is the Ukrainian people try to change it. They try to do something that Russia absolutely hates, which is to have a sovereign choice about their country's future. And they looked at the European Union and they said, we want that. We want the liberty, the decency, the dignity, the legality, the choice. We want the things that you've got. That's why they died in blood-spattered European flags. And Russia didn't want to have that because Russia knows that a successful democratic Ukraine is an existential threat for the crony capitalist regime in the Kremlin. Our East European neighbors warned us that the Kremlin doesn't believe in win-win. The Kremlin likes win-lose, with them winning and us losing. And so what did we say to the Estonians and Latvians and Lithuanians and Czechs and Poles, people like Václav Havel, these great moral giants who'd been imprisoned under communism and who warned us about this? I'll tell you what we did. We patronized them. We ignored them. We belittled them. We said that they were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, that they didn't have the right sense of perspective. They didn't get the big picture. Russia's willing to do three things. It's willing to use force, it's willing to accept economic pain, and it's willing to lie relentlessly and shamelessly. What should we do in return? Let's let NATO be NATO and do its job and defend our East European allies. Let the EU be the EU and unleash its competition authority on the Gazprom. Treat Gazprom like Microsoft. Enforce our own laws here. Look at these companies with mysterious ownership and mysterious business practices, which have become so immensely rich here. And let's not forget that in the end, this isn't just about the freedom of the Russians who are suffering under this autocratic, kleptocratic regime. It's about ours too. As the Russians said so memorably on Red Square in 1968, it's for your freedom and ours. Za vashu I nashu svobodu.